ex-husband invited his affair partner to sit in my empty chair at Thanksgiving. I found out my seat at Thanksgiving dinner had a new occupant when my own daughter sent me a photo of another woman sitting in my chair at my table using my grandmother's china. 14 years of marriage, and he didn't even wait for the divorce to be finalized before replacing me at my own family's holiday. If you enjoy stories like this, hit subscribe, because that photo was only the beginning of what I uncovered. My name is Christine. I'm 43 now, but this story starts 16 years ago when I married a man named Robert and believed, with my whole heart, that I'd found my forever person. I grew up in a modest home outside Charlotte, raised by my mother, Eleanor, who worked as a school administrator for 30 years and taught me, mostly by example, what quiet resilience looks like. My younger sister, Amanda, was my other constant. We shared a room until I left for college, and even after, she stayed my closest confidant. Amanda was blunt, sometimes uncomfortably so, but always honest with me in a way I came to depend on. I met Robert when I was 27. He was a successful contractor, easy laugh, always the guy other men wanted to grab a beer with. He courted me hard that first year. Flowers at my office, handwritten notes tucked into my coat pockets. Amanda liked him well enough at first, but something shifted after our engagement party. She pulled me into the kitchen and said, "Chris, I watched him flirt with 3 different bridesmaids tonight, right in front of you. That's not nerves, that's a pattern." I told her she was overreacting, that every man gets a little loose after a few drinks. I was wrong, and it would take me 16 years to fully understand how wrong. The first several years of marriage were, honestly, happy ones. We built a life in a 4-bedroom house in a quiet Charlotte suburb, had our daughter Olivia when I was 31, and for a long stretch, things felt solid. Robert's construction business grew steadily, bringing in close to $200,000 a year by our 10th anniversary, and I stayed home to raise Olivia while managing our household finances, something I'd insisted on handling myself after watching my own mother struggle without financial literacy after my father left. The cracks started small around year 11. Late nights at the office that stretched past midnight. A new attentiveness to his appearance, gym memberships, tailored shirts, cologne I didn't recognize. When I asked questions, he'd deflect with irritation. "Christine, I'm allowed to take care of myself. Why does everything have to be an interrogation?" I stopped asking, mostly because I didn't want to hear an answer I already suspected. Isolation crept in differently than most stories like this. Robert didn't forbid my friendships outright. He simply filled my calendar so completely with his business dinners and social obligations that I had no time left for my own. Amanda noticed I'd missed her birthday 2 years running. My mother noticed I'd stopped calling as often. I was so absorbed in managing Robert's world that I'd quietly disappeared from my own. The first major incident happened 3 years ago at our daughter's middle school graduation. Robert showed up 40 minutes late, smelling faintly of perfume that wasn't mine, and when I asked him quietly in the parking lot afterward where he'd been, he grabbed my arm hard enough to leave a mark and hissed, "Don't you dare embarrass me in front of these people. Fix your face." I stood there in the parking lot, humiliated, the bruise blooming purple under my sleeve for a week afterward. That night, he came home with a bouquet of my favorite lilies. "I don't know what came over me. Work has just been so stressful," he said, voice soft, eyes pleading. I believed him, mostly because believing the alternative meant admitting 16 years might have been a lie. The calm lasted about 7 weeks that time, then a month. Then, within a year, the apologies stopped coming altogether, replaced by a cold, simmering resentment that colored nearly every interaction between us. The ticking clock arrived this past September. My mother, Eleanor, who'd been living independently 3 hours away in Asheville, was scheduled to move in with Amanda permanently after a health scare, arriving the week before Thanksgiving. Her move meant more eyes on our family, more scrutiny Robert clearly wasn't prepared for, and his behavior grew visibly more erratic the closer her arrival date came. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I was updating our joint banking app to pay Olivia's tuition installment when I noticed recurring charges to a boutique hotel downtown, nearly every Thursday for 4 months, along with jewelry store purchases I'd never received. My hands went cold, scrolling through months of hidden transactions totaling almost $23,000. I didn't confront him immediately. I called Amanda instead, my voice shaking so badly I could barely get the words out. Amanda didn't hesitate. "Chris, I need you to screenshot everything right now, before he notices you've seen it. Send it to me. We're going to figure this out together." For the first time in years, I felt like I had someone fully in my corner, someone who wasn't going to tell me I was overreacting. Over the following 2 weeks, Amanda helped me quietly document everything: the hotel charges, the jewelry purchases, a pattern of late nights that lined up exactly with his site visits. We hired a private investigator who within days confirmed what I already suspected. Robert had been having an affair for nearly 8 months with a woman named Kayla, a 31-year-old interior designer he'd hired for a client's renovation project. I filed for divorce the week before Thanksgiving, blindsided but resolved, staying in a hotel with Olivia while the paperwork was served. What I didn't expect was what came next. Robert, apparently unwilling to wait even a few weeks for the divorce to finalize, invited Kayla to Thanksgiving dinner at our house. A dinner I'd hosted for 14 straight years, using my grandmother's china at the table where I'd sat every single holiday of my marriage. Olivia, staying with her father that particular week per our temporary arrangement, sent me a photo, her hands shaking as she typed, "Mom, I don't know what to do. Dad put her in your seat." I sat in that hotel room and looked at a stranger smiling in my chair, using dishes that had been in my family for 3 generations, surrounded by people who had once called me family too. It was, without question, the worst moment of the entire ordeal. Worse than the bruise, worse than the bank statements, worse than anything that had come before it. But Amanda, sitting beside me in that hotel room, took the phone gently from my hands and said, "This is the mistake that's going to cost him everything, Chris. He just handed us exactly what we need." She was right. Amanda helped me get that photo, along with timestamps, directly to our divorce attorney, establishing a clear, documented pattern of infidelity that strengthened our case for both asset division and, more importantly, custody arrangements for Olivia, who was deeply unsettled by what she'd witnessed. Combined with the $23,000 in hidden marital funds spent on the affair, our attorney built a case that painted an undeniable picture for the court. The financial reckoning came fast. North Carolina courts don't look kindly on dissipated marital assets, and the judge ordered Robert to reimburse the full amount spent on Kayla directly from his share of the settlement, on top of an equitable division that, given his business's value, worked out considerably in my favor. I walked away with the house, a fair portion of the business's worth, and full primary custody of Olivia, who testified, gently guided by her own therapist, about what she'd witnessed that Thanksgiving. Socially, Robert's reputation didn't survive the story getting out either. Our small suburb talks, and once mutual friends learned the full timeline, the bruised arm, the hidden spending, the Thanksgiving betrayal, most of them quietly stopped inviting him to anything at all. His business, dependent heavily on referrals from that same social circle, saw a noticeable dip within the following year. I moved into a smaller but entirely mine 3-bedroom house 6 months later, my grandmother's china packed carefully and displayed in a cabinet I chose myself. Amanda helped me set the table for my first solo Thanksgiving, my mother at the head this time, Olivia beside me, over something that had nothing to do with anyone who'd ever hurt us. This past Thanksgiving, exactly 1 year after that photo, I sat in my own chair, at my own table, surrounded by the people who actually showed up for me. And for the first time in longer than I can remember, nobody's absence hurt. Nobody's presence was a threat. It was just us, whole and unbothered, exactly as it should have been all along. If this story moved you, hit subscribe. There's another one coming next week that'll make you furious before it makes you hopeful. Take care of yourselves and remember, sometimes the cruelest thing someone does is also the thing that finally sets you free.